shut my cell phone off, I don't have it on there, I just want to good thing, eh? Cell phone's got the exact time on it. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Almighty God, you have blessed us with memory, reason, and skill. Help us to use them wisely in the service of our town government. We ask this in thy holy name, amen?
Amen.
Salute the flag.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. We got several things on the agenda tonight. Does anybody wish to address the board ahead of time on any subject in public forum? Okay. Just a couple things I'd like to quickly do before we introduce some of our guests. I'd like approval of the minutes of December 28th. We had an end-of-year meeting, paid our bills. I'd like to have that approved. I need a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 28th.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any questions on the minutes of December 28th? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Greg and Sue, our two election commissioners, Greg Campbell and Sue Castine, they've asked if they could be here this evening to
Save you some money.
save us some money. We got our bill. I guess it's much less than we thought it was going to be for last year, which is a good sign. Reconfiguration of election districts, I guess you would call it,
Right.
okay?
Correct.
So, it's your floor.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to come. We've got several things. We have, Sue's going to hand out some spreadsheets that have, this is similar to what you already received back earlier in September when we were giving you estimates as far as 2012 and what you might be looking at for cost to win an election. And as you know, this year we anticipated there would be two primaries. And now we find out that there might be three primaries. The federal government, because we moved the federal primary from September to August. Of course, we have the presidential in April, and the legislature in the state has yet to make a decision to move the state primary to the same time as the federal in August. So if they don't, we potentially could have two primaries within 30 days of each other. Which, besides the fact that that would be expensive and just for us to put it together, we go through the whole process of action keys, the whole cycle makes it very difficult to do that. So we're very hopeful that the state will see the wisdom of changing the state primary at the same time as the federal. But be that as it may, Larry had indicated that you'd already gotten your bill from us for the chargeback for this year. And I'm going to give this to you Larry afterwards. And this shows all the towns and what we had estimated for expense for the election for 2011. And then it also shows the actual. Now, in Champlain's case, we had estimated, and this was, getting into this whole process, part of this was the state of New York requires 3 ballots for every eligible voter. Whether they actually go to vote or not, they want you to have 3 ballots. And then they want you to have a cushion of another 10%. Those ballots are 57 cents a piece. So in 2010, we had quite a few ballots left over. And obviously you can't reuse them. They get stored for 2 years and they go off to a landfill, which is, we think is totally nuts. Just put it bluntly.
Agreed.
So what Sue and I both did is when we looked at 2011, we went back to the previous elections where we had town elections and legislative elections to see how each district voted, how many people actually voted in those elections. And so we did a percentage of anywhere from 65% to 75%, maybe a little higher in a couple areas where there was hotly contested legislative races. Now, we still have a few ballots left over, but nothing compared to what we had before. And we ended up by cutting our printing costs almost in half by doing that. Additionally, we restructured the way we did some of the things out of the warehouse for preparation for the election, as far as we have to periodically test the machines and we have to prep the machines, get them ready for an election, close everything down at the end of the election, and so on. And there's other expenses that are associated with that get charged back to the towns. So going off from 2010, you had an estimate for 2011. So originally it was almost $600 for Champlain. As you know, where you got a bill recently from us, which was $7,900. So it was a reduction of about 52% of what it was originally estimated that it might be. And that's consistent throughout the whole county. I think the smallest decrease was 35%. The greatest decrease was 54%. So, we look at that as how can we save the town's money and still do our job? And in the process, we were able to save quite a bit of money.
That's good news.
So, yeah, because most people are used to hearing from us that tell them that it's going to cost a little bit more, when in fact, it really didn't.
And our testing ballots that we have to pre-mark and test, we run about 100 to 250 per district, per machine. If you buy them from the printer, all test marked, they're $1.20 each. And we just throw them away. So we did that all in-house.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that we did differently, and we're planning on carrying that forward. We also looked at how can we save the towns in other ways. And one of the ways we're looking at is, and we spent quite a bit of time on this, how can we consolidate election districts within the towns and not greatly inconvenience the voters, but something that makes sense. Now, previously, because of the old machines, the most you could get on, many votes you could get on a machine was 999 with the lever machines. So a lot of the districts were set up with that in mind, not to go over that figure. With these new machines, we don't have that kind of limitation. In fact, about the only limitation we have are the number of ballots that will actually fit into the ballot bag, and that's about 2,500 ballots. So, there's plenty of room, for us to consolidate districts and have more people voting on fewer machines. Now, what Sue handed out to you there's a couple of sheets. One of them is the budget that you originally received in September. And it shows, every town gets the same one. Everybody gets to see what everybody else, pays, and it's divided out according to election districts. We have right now 70 election districts. So when we look at the total bill at the end of the year, we divide it by 70, and then if you've got 3 election districts, we multiply your portion by 3, or 5 districts by 5, or whatever it happens to be. And, that's really the fairest way to do it. The second sheet that you received has a green stripe across it. And what we did was we went through and we said, okay, if we reduce each town where we could, the number of election districts, we could also, reduce the number of election workers that were needed, and all the associated costs that went with that. As you know, we need at least 4 election workers by law for every election district. So if you've got a situation where you've got 2 districts in one room, you still need 8 people for, at least for that, to run that particular poll site. So what we did was we said, okay, if we made these changes that we've laid out here as a suggestion, and we're just getting into this process, so we talked to Blackbrook last night. You're the second town that we're talking to. And these aren't cast in stone, but these are suggestions we want the towns to look at and consider. If you go along with the suggestion that we've made in this case, which is you still have the same number of polling places, 2, but you'd have 1 less district. You'd have 3 districts instead of 4, and we're going to hand you out maps so you can see exactly what that would look like. That would save the town of Champlain. Now, we're approximating, but it's probably pretty close, about another $3,500 for this coming year, on top of some of the other savings that we've built in, and you've already seen the results of from the figures that we handed out to you. Now, the other sheet, which has the pink line going across it, or the red line, whatever, shows that and we do this with each town, it says if you decide you don't want to make the change, you want to stay the way you are, but the other towns go ahead and make the changes, how will that affect you? And in this case, I don't have my glasses on, but, so what is that number? That's what happens. Okay, your cost would actually go up by about almost $1,400. And again, the reason is because if other people are reducing districts and you're not, that's what happens, the cost gets spread around, and that's, that's what the situation would be. Now, what we did, we've got some maps, that we have our planning department, make out. There's one of them that shows the districts the way they are now. You have that one? Yeah, I'll switch it. And if you look here, there's one that you can maybe share or pass around, whatever. But that's I believe that's the existing one. But this is the way it is now. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all the 4 districts are shown there. Now, as you notice, in District 1, there's this section here that's a wraparound District 3. Which I'm not sure why it was designed that way, but and I know it follows the river, but it's almost a horseshoe shape around District 3. What we're proposing to do is take this district from the Northway west, that part of District 1, and combine it with District 3. Okay. Take the balance of District 1 and combine it with District 2. What you would have is you'd have the 3 districts, the figures, there's I kind of know when there's some figures written on it.
It's over there.
Pardon?
Oh, Larry probably has it.
Yeah.
John's got it.
Is it there? Oh, I'm sorry, if you don't mind, John, I appreciate it. What we would do is the District 1 would have about 1,038, District 2 1,080, and District 3 about 1,274. That's fairly close, but that's approximately what it would be. What you would have is you would have District 3 still voting here at the town hall. You have districts 1 and 2, or 4 would become 2. 1 and 2 voting at the Civic Center in Rouse's Point. So Rouse's Point would have the 2 districts still voting there. You'd have 1 district voting here. And by doing that, you would eliminate how many poll workers you have. You would go from 17 poll workers is what you had before, down to 12 poll workers. And as you go along and follow those lines across, you can see what the difference is as far as the cost, the before and after, if you go along with that change. Now, what'll happen is we send out cards to people and notify them. If they're going to be, if the districts get changed around and the district numbers get changed around, or in this case, if you have people that maybe were coming down here to vote, but are going to go over to the Civic Center to vote, we would notify them. We put something in the press also to notify them that there's going to be this change, that you're going to go there instead of here. But we're very conscious of the fact that almost every town has come to us and said, is there any way we can cut our costs for the election? Because it seems like every year it's gone up, which it has, because of the new machines, the new system, the cost of the ballots, so on and so forth. But because we don't need to, because we can get more people through on these new machines than on the old machines, it really makes sense to streamline it as much as possible where it makes sense. I mean, there are some towns where, because geographically the way they're spread out, we just can't, you can't realistically, make people travel all that far in order to change their polling location or something. Or there's a situation where you've got a town is represented by 2 different legislative districts, where you can't combine those, so you have to keep those the same. But in your case, you definitely have the opportunity to combine districts, lose a district, and save yourself about $3,500 a year, at least for this year in expense.
When do you need to know?
Well, we're supposed to do this by February 15th. We have to go in and manually, we have a program that we work with on our NPS system, That allows us to go in, identify which streets are where, move them from one district to another district and so on. But, yeah, and then we have, and because we have the primary in April, the presidential primary, that really makes it incumbent on us to do it, sooner than later. So, and, I can't tell you how every town is gonna react as far as, they'll say, yes, we're gonna do it, or no, we don't wanna do it. Pretty much every town is gonna save, a fair amount of money by doing it. So we anticipate that probably considering that, plus the figures that I gave you earlier as far as how much we saved you on direct election costs as chargeback, that it's a real incentive to do it.
If everybody goes along with your recommendations, how many districts are you gonna be reducing?
We would go from 70 districts to 53 districts.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and we do too. I mean, both Sue and I, worked on, we've been working on this ever since this past election. As I said, we know that in previous years, you keep getting notified that the cost of elections are going up and up and up. And I know that when we sent you out this last one for 2012, it went up about 18 to 20%. But the main reason for that was because of the extra primary. Okay, but.
I know Mr. McManus has been hearing from us about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the legislature's gonna do a resolution, supporting, going, moving the state legislative, or the state primary to the same date as the federal. Because it costs everybody, so.
You need by the 15th of February. Do we need to pass a resolution, or?
It would be nice if you did. I mean, Blackbrook did a resolution last night. I mean, whether you do it tonight or not, but, that's fine. I know you need discussion time, so I'm not putting you on the spot to do that tonight.
Our
But-
next meeting is the day before the 15th of
Right.
February.
Okay. What we need to do is we would like to hear from you, that, yeah, we're comfortable with this, or no, we're not comfortable with this. Preferably sooner than the day before, because we have to, as I said, it's a process to do it. So I don't know what works for you, or if that's possible, and I'm not trying to put you under the gun, but that's what state has told us, State Board of Elections, that we need to do it by the 15th of February.
The only downside that I see
Yep,
would be some of the people in the village of Champlain
yep,
would have to travel to Rouse's Point.
right,
traveling
instead of
here.
coming here. And it's probably gonna be an extra round trip, but I don't know, maybe 6 miles or something. And maybe it's that, maybe it's not.
Or wherever, from the village.
Yeah, and we understand that. But I can tell you, Larry, that when, I live in the town of Sable, and a few years back, they had everybody that was we had voting locations in the elementary school, in Clintonville at the high school, and at the town hall. They consolidated all of them to the fire hall in Keysville. Now, that meant that the people way up next to the Blackbrook town line, the other side of Clintonville, had to drive down to Keysville to vote. Now, I went back and I checked the numbers to make a comparison before or after. And I did that earlier this year to see, was there a drop-off in voting? There wasn't a drop-off in voting. Now, we understand that there are going to be people that are not going to be happy about that. The other side of that, however, the plus side is that we're trying to save the town money, and we hope that the people understand that
It's all about economics.
it's about economics. And it's like we told the folks last night in Blackbrook, most of those people won't think twice about jumping in their car and driving to Price Chopper or driving to, Plattsburgh or something, because they have an errand to run or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a change or an inconvenience for some people, but, it's not a big change. And as I said, it's certainly saving the town money.
I would support your recommendation. I see no reason not to,
Okay.
especially when we're looking to save every dollar we can somewhere.
Right. And that's what we're trying to help you with. So,
can certainly get back to you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So
Okay.
The 15th, 14th, our meeting next month will be too late.
That will be too
It
late.
will be, because,
It'd be okay for the following year.
yeah, but not for this year. I mean, it just, it cuts it too close for us to try to make the changes in the system. Then we've gotta get cards made up and mail them out.
All right. You want to make if somebody wants to make a motion and a recommendation that we follow their recommendation, I have no problem with that. I mean,
So you want to take the rest of the week, that's
no,
fine.
so we're not on next meeting to
Right.
Okay.
take the board back if I don't have to, you know.
Right.
You explained it well, very understandable.
Okay.
We know the purpose,
Right.
we know the reasons. It's the will of the board, if
Okay.
somebody would like to make a recommendation.
I'll make a recommendation that we accept the Board of Elections analysis of changing the districts to save money for the town.
Okay?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried? You need a letter, or you need a,
And when you get around to it, if you just maybe send us a copy of a resolution or just a letter saying, we voted to endorse that and so on, and we know that you have. but we-
Julie will send you something.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay.
That way we'll have it for our files, that we have on our file.
We
Thank you.
Because we don't want somebody to think we just arbitrarily came in and.
Well, that'd be all right too if you saved us money, you know?
Well, yeah, I know. But we like to have you really involved in that process.
Yeah, there's a reason for everything.
There is. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris, Storm Ready, would you introduce your,
We have a number of guests, the Storm Ready program, and I'll let these folks talk about it. It started off as a kind of a senior project for a college senior project. Andy Nash, and I'm not sure of your exact title.
Meteorologist in charge, office supervisor.
There you go.
Yeah.
Greg Hansen, who we've been working with all along, myself and Trustee Favreau and Councilman Favreau and Supervisor Mr. Barco, and Tom Messer from Channel 5, Chief Meteorologist, I believe.
Puts me under you, I think.
Yeah. There's some weather hierarchy here that I don't know. Eric Day, Director of Emergency Services for Clinton County, which I think you all know Eric. And another county guy, and of course some folks from the press here. And I'll let Greg take over, or Andy, or Andy.
Yeah, I guess I will.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sue.
Appreciate your work, guys.
Thank you.
I guess we'll, for those of you who don't know about the National Weather Service, our primary mission is protection of life and property. And we try to do that by issuing accurate and timely watches, warnings, forecasts, and all that. But the reality is we're not able to protect, and stop severe weather from happening. It's going to happen. And that's where community preparedness comes in hand, and even public or personal preparedness. So through this whole preparedness effort that involves not only us but the communities, the National Weather Service has developed a program over the last 10 years or so called Storm Ready. And with the Storm Ready program, we work with community officials in making sure that they've got plans in place to be able to monitor any warnings that we issue on a 24/7 basis, and to be able to provide that to other emergency personnel, maybe the public. That they've also got training of emergency personnel in what to do. If we were to issue a flash flood warning, well, hopefully there's some action being happening at the community level to know what to do to mitigate that or get people out of the way. That they've got a 24/7 warning point, somebody who's monitoring all that. The training, preparedness, and lastly, doing actual emergency exercises. So practicing, drilling, in case of a disaster. And so in the last, 6 months or so, Greg and another one of my staff at the Weather Service been working with Chris and others here in the town to make sure that you folks have all that it takes to meet our criteria for Storm Ready. And it's a fairly prestigious honor, at least to us. There's I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of communities across the country that, that exist. Right now, not even 2,000 are certified as storm ready. And so with that, there are, well, I guess Greg will show, we provide you guys with a couple of signs that you can put, you know, maybe here at the town hall or something, just to show the public, you know, that you are storm ready. And I think that being storm ready can also help give you a couple of points in the National Flood Insurance Program and some other things as well. So it's not just a pretty sign, but there is more to it. And our hope is that it gives, you know, the folks in your community, in your town, a little more sense of safety, knowing that there are folks in town that are watching out for them, and be ready to prepare ahead of a natural disaster and be there after it happens as well. So with that, we've got a couple of signs and a little certificate as well that present to you guys. So we just present it to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Half of the town?
Yeah, and I don't know if
Yeah.
we'll do a big sign here. I don't know will that.
Let me hold it for Jim.
You wanna? All right.
So I am.
They get the soapbox. The block, yeah, man. And the certificates. And, oh, the last thing I did forget to mention, you folks are so far the first one in the northern New York and only community that is certified storm ready. So we hope that you folks also set a precedence and get some of the other communities across the region to get more involved. So, thank you very much.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And sorry we were a little late in getting here.
It's all right.
Thank you.
Our goal is to, not Champlain, the town of Champlain is done. As Andy mentioned, maybe some other communities will take suit. And working with Derek, our goal is to probably make the storm ready, the county, Clinton County a storm ready community. So that's our next goal. Encourage other communities in the town, or in all the towns in Clinton County do it, but we want to make the Clinton County a storm ready community. It's going to take a little bit more effort. But a lot of it has to do with, like Andy said, the school, working with the town, the county, Eric's resources through the answering point, 911, things of that nature. The town of Champlain has had many natural disasters, unfortunately, especially with the Great Chazy River. It hasn't changed a lot in the last few years. There's still ice. We've seen everything. Not hurricanes, we know of at this point, but at least a few severe thunderstorms and maybe some other stuff that we don't know about.
Mother Nature's always trying to surprise us.
So we thank you for thank you guys for the assistance and folks for coming up to cover this, and I think it's good for the town.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Sure, Alan will be happy to see he's got a couple more signs to hang.
Well, we thank you, Chris,
Thank
for
you.
coordinating all this. And
Yep.
we know it was no easy task. Put a lot of time in on it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Absolutely.
Good to see you. Good to see you, dude.
Very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for rushing out of work.
This is it's a great honor for you guys. I think it's great. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good one.
Well, okay, we're back to the regular meeting here. and I think you're aware of it. I'd like to make my committee appointments, supervisors committee appointments. I'd like to appoint Richard Favreau as deputy town supervisor. The grants committee will be John Paul Tetro, John Cooper, and Mickey Tetro. Water and sewer will be Steve Southwick, John Cooper, Mike Tetro Jr. Highway committee will be John Cooper, John Paul Tetro. Buildings committee will be John Paul and Richard Favreau. Emergency preparedness will be John Cooper and Richard Favreau. Handicap discrimination committee will be John Paul Tetro and Larry Barkholm. Town policy committee will be Larry Barkholm and Richard Favreau. Zoning committee will be Steve Southwick. Planning will be Richard Favreau. Landfill committee, Steve Southwick and John Paul Tetro. Zoning and code enforcement officer will be Mike Tetro Jr. Registrar of Vital Statistics will be Julie Castine, and budget officer will be Larry Barkholm. Harassment officer will be Jane West and Ben Huff. Fixed access records clerk will be Jane West. Youth director, Linda Fredette. Cable franchise, Richard Favreau. Dog control officer will be Joe Mott. Fire district liaison will be Steve Southwick. Safety officer will be Bruce Gray and Mike Tetro. Board of Assessment and Review will be John Paul Tetro. Parks and Youth Commission, youth programs, Richard Favreau and John Paul. Shared Services, it's Steve Southwick and John Cooper. Historian will be Tom Manderville. If I could have a motion to accept those appointments as presented.
I make a motion to accept the appointments of the supervisor as mentioned.
I second it.
Any questions on any of them? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We need to review and accept the town policies. There's one down there, you'll see it about halfway down, procurement, and we need to revise it. It's on the budget, on the program later in the evening. Okay? So I to approve all those except procurement. There's two more on the next page, hazardous material response and hazardous communication. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept the town policies as written, except for the procurement ones to be addressed later.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The salaries for 2012. The town supervisor is $19,000 a year. The council members is $6,150 each per year. Highway superintendent is $17,930 for the elected position, $30,886 for full-time working position. Town clerk, tax collector is $24,420. Additional duties for town clerk for water and sewer is $3,275. Zoning and planning clerk, $89,940. The justices, two justices, is $22,048.50 each. Marriage officer is $1,000. The youth director, $5,635.50. Board of Assessment and Review, there's five people on that at $300 each, for a total of $1,500. Deputy town clerk registrar is $1,000. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Make a motion to accept those salaries as read.
I'll second
that motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. To set the regular meeting nights, it's always been the second Tuesday of the month, the place here at the town offices. The time is 7 o'clock. I do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to set the regular meeting nights as second Tuesday of the month at the town of Champlain offices at 7 p.m.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Designate the following banks as official depositories of town funds. Champlain National Bank, Community Bank, and TD North are the three banks.
I make a motion to accept the three banks as listed
Thank you.
for depositories of town funds.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Designate the town of Champlain official newspaper as being Prosperous Press Republican.
Make a motion to designate the First Republican, as the town of Champlain official newspaper.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Designate the town attorney as William Favreau.
I make a motion to designate William Favreau as our town attorney.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Designate the town attorney for zoning and planning board. It was Town Moraine from Stafford, Owens, Curtin, and Trombley.
Make a motion to designate Renee Stafford Owens and Curtin and Trombley and John Crew as the official attorney for zoning and planning.
Second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We got to set the mileage rate. The IRS mileage rate now is 55.5 cents per mile. We need to do that. That's the official IRS.
I make a motion to approve the mileage rate, 55.5.
Second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A donation to the local veterans organization, $100 each upon submission of a voucher.
I'll make a motion to set the local veterans organization donation amounts at $100 each upon submission of vouchers.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Authorize payment in advance of audit claims for public utilities, postage, freight, express charges, and all payroll-related deductions.
I make a motion to authorize payment in advance for audit claims for services, postage, freight, express charges, and payroll-related deductions.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next two items is designating a delegate and alternate to the association in town. We have nobody going, so we do not need to designate a delegate, nor do we need to pay registration fees and bus fares for that. That was a budgetary item consideration. We decided not to send anybody to New York City this year for the association of towns regular meeting. Financial resolution as follows: in lieu of filing the town's financial report by the supervisor with the New York State Audit and Control, he is authorized instead to file a copy of his annual report given to the State Controller's Office within 60 days of the close of the financial year. And further, he forward a copy of proof of publication of said report in the official town newspaper. And finally, to the said Audit and Control.
Make a motion we pass the financial resolution.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Post audit resolution, authorize the payment in advance of auditing claims for public utilities, postage and freight, and all such claims as presented at the next regular meeting for audit. And the claimant and officer incurring or approving the same shall be jointly and severally liable for any amount disallowed by the board.
I'll make a motion to accept the post audit resolution.
Second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You have your town clerk's monthly reports, and your yearly reports both. From the town clerk, we thank you, Julie, for that. You have your work schedule for the property tax service, real property tax office, and we're open here every Friday. And Mondays we're here some of the time, sometimes we're out in the field working. I Creek Road,
For the letter?
we petitioned through the county to the state to approve a reduced speed limit on the Creek Road. It was denied. I will try to notify the person that brought that petition into us. We just got this last days ago, or last week sometime. Just the information on it was denied. We do have another one in on Hayford Road near the golf course. We have a, thank you, Steve. And you have your code officer's report. The letter about the waterway was a letter that Alan had sent for your information only to the DEC pertaining to a wetland situation and ditching of a property. Okay. The superintendent of highways report, I can't think of anything. It's been going pretty good. We haven't had any major storms to speak of. We did put a new, Alan, in the highway crew, put a new ramp in for people to access the lake on Point Fair on, pardon, on Kings Bay, yeah.
Right.
So that's done. I have not got to see it, but I understand it's a nice job and well done.
Being utilized.
Being utilized, ice fishermen. No committee report.
Just to back up, I believe that the DEC has come to check the,
They've been there yesterday. The results of that, I do not know yet. They have not made any determination. I understand they were there again today. Yesterday they met with Alan.
right.
Okay. So, that would be a DEC issue. I'm sure that would be corrected. Julie, do you have anything on town clerk's report?
Yes. I'd like to appoint Jane West as my deputy town clerk, tax collector, register of vital certificate.
Oh, yeah.
Make a motion to that effect.
Second. Motion and second. Appoint Jane as the assistant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The town board needs to appoint Janice Latrino as leader officer.
I make a motion to appoint Janice Letourneau as marriage officer.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
At the planning board meeting, they approved Carl Shank to continue on as chairperson and Bob Wesselholm as vice chairperson. So you need to approve that.
Okay, Carl and Bob Weston-Home have both been in that position for several years and doing a great job, so I
Make a motion to set Bob and Carl as members.
well, he's chair, right? That's what it-
Carl is
Carl
chair
chair.
and Bob is vice chair.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Also, Linda Armstrong and Jim Favreau were both up this year, and they both wish to continue on for another 5 years. So the board will have to approve them.
I have no problem there either. They're hard to find, so.
I make a motion to reappoint James Favreau and Linda Armstrong
I'll second that motion.
for 5-year term.
Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And just one more thing, the Codes Conference is coming up in Lake Placid, the 17th annual North Country Continuing Education Conference, and I'd like permission to go again. I'm sure Mike must want to go.
17th of January?
No, it's March 5th through March 8th,
Oh, okay.
when that we go to Lake
Yes.
Placid.
No problem with that. Someone would like to make a motion?
I make a motion to send Julie and Nikki to the conference in Lake Placid.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we good?
Okay.
Listening up, no?
Nope.
Remember, we got a revised procurement policy that we need to approve. This was recommended to us, got these numbers through our auditor last spring. Okay? Everybody got it? You got it? I got yours. I got it. Everyone's almost.
I make a recommendation in form of a motion to amend the procurement policy to go from 10,000 to 20,000 hours and from 20,000 to 35,000 as recommended by audit and control.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. I'm assuming, Steve, it's all of those, or just,
The only thing that has to be changed is the 20 and the 35. Everything else is okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Everything else was changed last year, but
Okay,
we just
thank you.
didn't change the top figures.
That's the first sentence that needs to be
Okay.
changed.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a motion?
I second
And I have
it.
a second. Is there any questions on this?
The only thing is to make clear that I don't necessarily agree with this, but that's what's mandated. That we don't,
It was certainly
the
recommended.
auditors recommended that we do this, and I don't necessarily agree with it.
Okay, I understand. But you support that?
I still am supporting it, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
Okay.
Because it takes that dollar amount out of our hands.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If there's any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mickey, you want to address this meeting on, coming up for the 24th for West Service Road?
Yeah, it's a meeting that our engineer for water and sewer, Matt Cooper from Bernier and Carr, managed to arrange with the GSA and the DOT for potential water projects that we've been looking at for some time now. It's been a long time coming to get a meeting with both those organizations, so I have to give Matt my best on that. It's gonna be held January 24th here at 1 o'clock. We did send an invitation to the village of Champlain because they have an interest in this project also.
I think we also should, speak a little bit about the year-end meeting that we had. Last meeting, Calvin made a comment through someone else that, why didn't the town of Champlain get in on that
Oh,
some
the
odd
grant.
$1 million?
Yeah, the grant, we were in the process of working on a grant application. The grant came about so fast, we weren't ready to apply for a good grant. So we opted out until the second round where we could perfect the application that we had and get all the bells and whistles and the bugs worked out of it. But we were ready for a grant, we just didn't figure we had a good chance at getting it with what we had because of the time frame that the grant came about so quick.
Right.
So it's not true that we weren't looking for grants. We were constantly looking for grants.
Right.
I did ask our attorney, Bill Farrell, today, or yesterday, emailed it to me today, the fact, a resolution accepting the deed to Pillsbury Road for litigation, okay? This is the next to the final step, I'm hoping. Okay, so we do need a motion to approve the resolution accepting the Pillsbury Road.
I make a resolution, a motion to accept the resolution, or make a resolution accepting the deed to the Pillsbury Road for dedication.
Do I have a second?
I have a second on that.
Any questions on this? I'd like a roll call vote, there's a space, you got it, Joe?
Yep.
John Cooper,
Aye.
Richard Favreau,
Aye.
Steve Southwick,
Aye.
and yes for myself also. Aye. The one other thing right here, urgent, New York State Rural Water Association needs your support. I gave you that, Mickey, the other day?
Yes, it's,
Funding for the,
yeah. I think we just need to basically support it, put it on our letterhead and mail it back to them.
I have a sample letter they sent us for support for funding for the Rural Water Association. They have been very helpful to us in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like to have a motion just to support a letter of support for the Rural Water Association.
To do that, and thanking them for their help on that last grant, because of that last one came through.
Okay?
All right?
Thank you.
We'll make a resolution, do it, I'll get with James, so we can make it look good. And did we send a letter back to, what's the lady there, I just can't think of her name, we did send her a letter, right?
Renee?
Renee, yeah.
I don't know if anyone, I haven't sent one.
Okay, well, we should check on that when we
You know, we should get her a letter, and, wasn't, what do you do for Saranac help us on that too?
Oh, Liz Bedford?
Liz Bedford.
Yeah.
Probably should get a letter off to both of them. Okay. Did I have a you made a motion for this letter of support, John? Did I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. File's getting smaller.
We can amend the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Right here. You got that, Julie, in front of you, please? Did you read that, please?
You need to amend the 2011 budget. Income revenues, increase revenues in general fund by $13,817.27. Increase revenues in highway town outside DDA fund by $80,142.56. And this is because of the FEMA money that we received for $92,959.82.
This money came through after the budget was in place. So we didn't budget until we shortly had it, and now we need to put it back in that fund. Do I have a motion for that resolution?
I make a resolution that we amend the 2011 budget to include the increase in the, on the FEMA money.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Bills.
Bill.
Don't forget those. You have your full audit bills to review. We need to approve the monthly bills. We have a motion to approve the monthly bill.
I make a motion to approve the monthly bills as listed.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Jean just wants to make sure you mention the cash receipts that she gets for the year, for the whole year.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And we thank Jane for that, because that was a lot of work.
Great job.
There was a lot of work on that.
I'm surprised to see it all in one favor, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to bring before the board? We do need an executive session to discuss the contract. If there's nothing else now, I don't want to come back later with that. I need a motion to go into executive session then.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Julie.